But yeah, I caught a goldfish in a park pond.
Wait, you caught a goldfish
this week? So I thought that was, something I can cross off my fishing Pokedex.
Did you feel bad for catching a goldfish?
No, apparently they're very invasive and they're like a threat to ecosystems. So.
Well, fuck him.
Yeah,
fuck
but it was like the size of my foot. It was
that big?
It was almost like a cartoon. It was weird.
So how do they, when we go to like PetSmart and Petco, why are they so small?
Because they're in such small tanks. Apparently, goldfish are always growing. As long as they have food, they'll keep growing.
They'll just grow and grow.
Except if their body of water is too small, then they can't grow. So people, but I guess the reason that this park has them is because people released them because they didn't feel like flushing them down the toilet, and people released like 2 or 3 at a time or something. And yeah, there's like 1,000 in that park pond. It was crazy. You could see them all shimmering through
from the top.
Yeah, from
That's
the top.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty crazy.
Hello, beautiful people.
Welcome to Bro Taste This.
When we break down wine, we talk about Luis's digestive issues and Juan's political issues. And I'm a great listener.
Bonsoir, bonjour, bon après-midi. Welcome back to another episode of Bro Taste This, where we talk about food, wine, the news, and our childhood trauma. Today, we have on the episode Juan Legend. I am Luis Pablo, and we are missing Jay motherfucking May, but he is here in spirit. He had some personal matters to take care of, so we wish him the best. Drop some love in his social media.
Hit that subscribe button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Hit that thumbs up.
Make sure you share this episode with your closest coworkers so that you ruin your friendship with them after they listen to the absurdities we put up. Let's just make sure they know you are a crazy person after they listen to this. So, Jay motherfucking May, wherever you are, God bless, and
we're
will be back next
you,
week.
Buddy.
Yeah, we're thinking about you, buddy. Hope you're good. Juan Legend, I know he did a small thing we were talking about, so we wanted to carry that on to the podcast. So you were asking me about some of the health issues I've had, which is one of the ongoing themes about this podcast.
That is one of the through lines that we've had since episode 1.
Yeah.
Our health issues, our many different random health issues. But yeah, I was just asking you about whether your job obviously provided some sort of healthcare or healthcare benefit, and I was wondering if you used it, how much of your healthcare costs that covered for you, and if you've like maybe had to use it in a larger, like more costly incidents.
Yeah.
Or has it all been minor?
No, it definitely does depend, because I had kind of a shitty year for medical expenses, because I had a small lump form in between my belly button and my groin. So my first thought was, this is a hernia. However, when I went to go get it checked, it wasn't hard enough for them to assume it's a hernia. So what it was actually a hair follicle. So it was an ingrown hair that actually filled up with bacteria.
Thank God.
So they had to cut it open and drain it. So 3 different times in the course of a week, I had to go to the hospital, and with like a fucking scalp.
It would fill up that fast?
Yeah. Well, what they did was it was like maybe half an inch like wide.
Yeah.
But it was right in my stomach, so it fucking hurt. So imagine someone taking a knife and just cutting a hole in your arm or anywhere in your body. I mean, it hurt.
No, I feel you. It's a little intense that it had to happen.
Right.
Another day happens and it happens again.
Within the course of a week, I had gone 3 times. And then they wanted me to come back a 4th to like double check, and I'm like, I'm not coming back. I just straight up told them, well, I mean, because it is expensive. Like, even if you do have a copay, like at the end of the day, I mean, you're still paying for all the shit that you're being serviced. Like, they're not going to be like.
That was my question. Like,
they don't have a loyalty program.
Exactly. Like, I am a plebeian. I'm a poor, so I haven't had access to proper health insurance.
Use it 100% though.
Yeah, but they're trying to charge me almost like $2,000 for an MRI. And I'm like,
well, also, yeah.
God damn. It's like, How am I going to save up for a wedding with that?
It's a lot. The good thing about it is that there's different ways to like pay for it and make up. Like, $2,000 is a lot. They're not expecting $2,000 off the bat, are they?
No, I don't think so.
No,
but...
they'll end up billing you, and then you can end up paying for it like a payment plan and set it up. And
yeah.
So there's all different ways. But yeah, if you have insurance through work, I recommend using it and getting whatever you want to get figured out. Because I mean, we won't get personal, but like I've had prostate cancer in my family.
Yeah. And
that's one thing that I've like committed to doing next year is like, all right, let me get everything checked.
Give me all the fingers, doc. You need to shove 5 up there?
Just spit roast me. Just put some in my mouth, put some in my ass. Let's get this over with. But yeah, no, man, it's tough. And it's also a tough decision to make as a young man because we're both under the age of 30. I'm much closer to 30 than you are by like a year.
I guess, yeah, much closer. much closer.
But it is something that I recommend getting checked out.
Yeah.
So today on the podcast, we will be actually tasting 2 different wines. Do you want to say what they are, Juan?
Yeah, right in front of us today. All right. Courtesy and shout out to Alo for providing these 2 wines today from Total Wine in Milwaukee. She got us some whites because she heard that we were interested in tasting
because we love
some whites.
Everything white.
Yeah.
And if it's not white, it ain't right, goddammit.
If it ain't white, it ain't right, goddammit. All right. We got 3 Wise Guys Pinot Grigio out of Harbor Ridge Winery, which happens to be a Wisconsin product, believe it or not.
Correct.
It comes out of Algoma, Wisconsin. But this is a Pinot Grigio. It's going to be interesting to try this, I think. It should be pretty bright, citrusy.
Yeah, it only has...
maybe some pear in there.
Right. It only has a 3.4 rating, but it's also a Wisconsin wine, so I don't know.
Yeah.
With a widely used app, how well it's going to track.
Yeah.
The other one, however...
Snake and Herring 2020 Perfect Day Sauv Blanc Semillon Blend. It comes out of Margaret River, Western Australia. We're going to be trying both of these side to side, kind of seeing...
We have an Aussie. We're down the Dundees on the Sauvignon Blanc.
Gonna put some shrimp on the Barbie today.
Put some shrimp on the... Do you want to hear a really funny story?
What?
So, my girlfriend Adriana went to a steakhouse with 2 of her friends, and she came back and she was like, I fucking love that steakhouse. And I was like, oh, what's it called? And she goes, I can't remember. And one day she's like, oh, the name of the steakhouse was Outback. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Called it. I was like, Outback Steakhouse.
She really liked it. And so then we went to Milwaukee.
Did she have a bloomin' onion, or was she
No, we did not have. Maybe she did. But when we went like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were in Milwaukee. We saw an Outback on the way to a comedy show. And on the way back, we're like, oh, stop by. You've been talking about this. We ended up going to Texas Roadhouse one time, and she's like, Outback is so much better.
Yeah?
So I'm like, all right, if you say so. Like, I've never been.
Yeah.
So we go to Outback, and we walk in, and she's like, I don't know. Like, this doesn't seem right. And we're like, we get seated. She looks at the menu. She goes, they must have changed the menu. And she goes back through her group chat with her coworkers, and it turns out she had gone to Longhorn Steakhouse. So for like 2-3 months, she had been preaching that Outback,
the gospel of Outback.
And I went, and I'm like, hey, if you like Aussie inspired dishes.
Yeah. Is Texas Longhorn also an Aussie inspired?
No, I think Longhorn is like just some.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would have thought
probably like Texas Roadhouse.
A Texas thing, yeah.
Because of the Longhorn. Oh, fuck him. Snake and Herring has a 3.7 rating. So to be honest, we have both wines, one in a short glass, one in a tall glass. Do you remember which one I put which one in?
I was about to ask you the
small one.
Thing.
I can probably we'll be able to distinguish it.
The small one is the one without bubbles.
Yeah, the small one has to be. Well, the small one looks really light in color, so I'm guessing it's the Pinot Grigio. Yeah, look.
Actually, I don't know.
Because look, the bottles. Look at it compared to the Pinot Grigio. Yeah, I think that's the Pinot Grigio.
I think this is the bubble one.
So yeah, you think that's
the Pinot Grigio is the taller one?
You think the Pinot Grigio is the taller one?
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
All right.
I guess we should just
because we opened up the screw top first, and
Yep.
I put it in the small glass. So,
Did you?
Yeah. So the Sauvignon
Okay,
Blanc.
We were right.
Yeah. So the Sauvignon Blanc. Okay. So we'll take a smell test.
Ooh.
It smells really fruity, minerally, apricot. Bro, I smell like some artichoke in there too.
I smell like green mango.
Yeah.
Definitely peaches.
Like lemon almost.
Grapefruit. Classic for a Sauv Blanc.
That's really good. The color is very light, almost like a peach and like
Oh, that's good.
very light tint of gold. That is really good. Wow.
Yeah, it's like almost on a Chardonnay kind of color. Almost like a gold color.
Oh, that's really good.
Interesting.
Wow. Wowzers. Wowzers, snake and herring.
I love Sauv Blanc, so I'm a fan of this one. I'm a big fan.
That is really good. Wow.
All I wanted to know if we tasted any passion fruit in this.
I don't taste passion fruit.
No?
No.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. We also have some Waterloo. Shout out to Adriana, my girlfriend, for the Waterloo watermelon flavor. We love sparkling water here at the Pablo residence. So
We're a pro big soda podcast.
we drink Pepsi and Pepsi only. God damn it.
Damn right.
We're moving on to the Pinot Grigio here. Okay.
Wow. That is surprisingly delicious. You don't agree, Luis, do you?
No, I just don't want to into the microphone. That's really good. Wow, both wines are really good today. Wow, that one's lovely. All right, so I think these are both fantastic dinner wines or summer wines. I think specifically the Pinot Grigio is a really good dinner wine. And let me see, for the cost, do you know how much she paid for these?
She paid $25 for Snake and Herring, and I don't remember how much for the Three Wise Guys,
I can't find an
the
exact.
Wisconsin product.
Cannot find the exact price.
What's the price range on that Three Wise?
It's like 18 to 23.
18 to 23. I was a
Yeah.
fan of that Pinot Grigio.
That Pinot Grigio is fantastic.
Yeah, for
I
Pinot
will,
Grigio, and
I will drink
for a
that
Wisconsin
every day of
product,
the week.
I
Let me
I would
quickly-
recommend that as a local product.
That was really good. Wow.
Yeah.
I had a Wisconsin one, a Wisconsin wine once that was so shit. It was so dog shit.
Was it just like packed with sugar?
Dude, it was
just syrup?
it tasted like someone had just put fucking a cup of honey inside it. It was so
Oof.
disgusting.
Eesh.
So this one's actually really good. I actually like both wines a lot. I do like the Pinot Grigio a lot more.
Yeah,
I do like Pinot Grigio a lot in general, but that's fantastic.
Yeah, this is
Wow.
a really fantastic wine.
Yeah, it's really good. Wow.
What fruits did you taste in this one? We didn't give any. I don't think we
good
gave
point.
tasting notes on this one.
Green apple.
Definitely,
A lot of apple.
almost like lime peel.
Yeah. Like zest.
Yeah, almost like,
Like-
ginger. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like ginger or wasabi. It's just super bright.
It's such a light wine, but it's so packed with flavor. That is fantastic.
Yeah, it's such a good Pinot Grigio.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Wowzers. Go, don't walk, run. Run to
Damn right.
run to the nearest fucking wine store and pick up some of that Snake and Herring Pinot Grigio. Or no, the
No,
Three Wise Guys Pinot Grigio,
Yes,
right?
the Three Wise Guys.
Damn, that shit hitting
Pinot
already,
Grigio.
B. That
That's
shit,
right.
that shit got me. Shit got me
You
fading.
feeling that? You feeling that?
That shit was
How many
good.
fingers am I holding now?
There's 2 in my ass, so that means there's 3 that you're holding up. Wow, that was really good. Wow, shout out to Wisconsin. Who made that? Maybe we can
Harbor Ridge Winery.
let's contact them and send them this episode and say that we love their wine. Maybe we'll get something out.
Well, maybe we'll get some in the
Maybe
mail.
we'll get some love. Hey, 3 wise guys. Let's make it 4 wise guys.
Yes.
You guys had another one.
Let's make it 6.
You're not just
Multiply that by 2.
all right. Going into some of this weekly news. We got Squid Games. Everybody's talking about this Netflix show. Have you seen any of it, Juan?
I've seen episode 1 just last night, actually. Fucking loved it.
Okay.
Loved it.
Tell me what your thoughts were. How attractive is the main character? For looking like he's homeless, still got a body on him. That's all I'm gonna say.
Scrappy motherfucker. He just has that like chug like engine in him that you're not gonna knock this guy down and keep him down.
No, he was really good.
He has a will to disappoint his daughter. Let's just say that.
So for those, I don't know who is not watching this show. Everybody's talking about this show. It's fantastic. It is a Korean-based action thriller drama. It takes place in Korea, pretty much set in today's time. I thought when
Almost
I saw some of the
little
previews,
futuristic, I would say.
I thought so.
10, 15 years.
Right,
maybe.
but when there's actually, this isn't a spoiler by any means, but there's a scene where they talk about the years, and this takes place in 2021.
Yeah.
So even though there's kind of like a future sense to it,
yeah, you're right.
kind of like an offshoot.
There's nothing unrealistic that much. It's just like
Right.
how evil can rich people get.
Yes. So without spoiling it, I have seen all of it. I'm curious to know what language you watched it in.
Right now I am watching it in the English audio version as well as English
Subtitle?
subs. I like to
I like to understand what
read
these are
subs
saying.
as well as
If this show in
listening to the
America,
audio.
I want to hear American, and then that better be it.
I just watch. I watch so little TV in general, except during the summer.
You do watch barely any TV.
During the summer, I watch very little TV in general because I love being outdoors. But when I do, I do put on what's it called? Subtitles.
I'm
So
the
that
same way.
I can just read it and comprehend everything and not miss anything. Like sometimes whether the audio doesn't translate all the way, Japanese dubs and shit like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not all that way accurate, or they
Right.
flub something that can be a pretty key piece of context that can be important.
Yeah.
While like a lot of the times the subtitles are a little bit more accurate, I think. So I was using that. Why? Do you watch it in Korean?
I actually watched it in Spanish. Yeah, I know. I watched the whole show in Spanish with Spanish
That's an
subtitles.
interesting left turn.
It's been something
Tell me
I've been
about
trying to
that.
do more and more often lately.
Oh, just so you pick
just
up
to
more
improve my
Spanish?
Spanish. Yeah. So
Oh,
I saw
okay.
that they had because originally it was a Spanish. Oh, I'm sorry. Originally it was set to English automatically, and I was like, oh, I wonder if like by any chance do they have Spanish, and they did. So I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. So I watched the whole thing in Spanish. I didn't miss any of the plot. I'm just trying to get my Spanish better. But I was wondering maybe you were watching the Korean version.
I thought about it. Yeah, I thought about it, but like I wouldn't understand anything. So like I don't understand. Like I don't know what that would do for me.
No, I completely understand that.
Like yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know if I should watch it that way because I didn't know if I would pick up on anything or if that would even have any use for me. So.
When you watch anime, do you watch it with an English dub or do you do subtitles? Because I know, you don't watch very much TV, but when you do.
I watch, if the dub is available, I'll watch that. But I'll also watch subtitles. I'll almost always do both though.
Yeah.
Like that's my preferred way.
The only time I won't do subtitles is when I'm watching like a comedy special. Because then
it ruins comedic timing for sure.
Yeah, because
you
I
don't
was
want
watching
to read the joke
Right.
before the guy performs it.
Yeah, because I was watching the Dave Chappelle. He just put out a new special, and I watched like the first half an hour, and I didn't even realize the subtitles were on because I was kind of like doing stuff in the kitchen while it was on, and then I turn around, I'm like, fuck, because I got intrigued in a joke, and then I read the punchline, and then he said the punchline, and I'm like, fuck, but no, watch Squid Games. It's fantastic. I really couldn't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting any of it. I think for the most part, it should really open up the minds of people who only watch things in English. You can like obviously it's got subtitles and it offers English audio,
Mm-hmm.
but it really should show like, hey, I mean, Parasite won movie of the year, and that's also
Yeah.
Korea based.
Yeah.
So I think
They seem to be pushing out a lot of really high quality movies the last few years.
yeah, go watch Old Boy.
TV in general.
Yeah, go watch Old Boy. Go watch Parasite, and go watch Squid Games.
Before we move on, though, how would you describe Squid Game? Like, what other shows would you say that it's like?
It's like the Hunger Games on steroids.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it really takes a concept of survival to like the next level.
Yeah.
Um,
it kind of reminded me of The Purge almost, with like how gruesome and
yeah,
all
that's a
that.
good point.
Just like how creative they are at,
Yeah.
you know,
It really
offing
took
each other.
so yeah. I mean, I think at this point, if you haven't seen it, you probably heard about it because so many people have watched it.
And it's
Good.
so memeable.
Yeah,
There's so many images in that show that are just like,
dude, Mexico memes got a hold of it, and some of the
Oh,
stuff
yeah?
I've been like fuck.
I'm
You know-
actually not even familiar with Mexico memes. Is that like black people Twitter?
They'll pop up on my feed every now and then,
Yeah.
and they're always a good laugh, especially on TikTok. I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't go into what they're memeing. But that's that first game, like, I mean, it's out everywhere. The green light, red light game.
Yes, that's what I'm
There's
talking
so many memes
Oh my
just
God.
on like the music that's in the background. Because I didn't know this, but in each language, it's actually a different song.
Song?
Yeah.
Damn.
When I heard it in Spanish, all they're saying is luz roja, luz verde.
And there's no music.
And there's no music. It's just the thing saying luz verde, luz roja. Like,
Yeah.
it's a little chime. But then Adriana actually showed me in Korean, like, it's actually a song like that. Because it's a kid's game.
Yeah.
It's actually a full-on song. And it sounds creepy. Here, let me actually pull it up. Because obviously you haven't heard it, right?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty scary, man.
It's a haunting little.
Yeah,
jingle.
dude, it's fucked up.
It was interesting to watch, I guess, all these different little gambling games that they have over there, and like
Yeah.
the gambling culture. Like,
It's kind of cool.
yeah, I had kind of seen that, through the cultural documentary that Too Fast, Too Furious Tokyo Drift is. Or
Yeah, I don't know if this is
Yeah,
like an
like-
underworld section of like Korea and Japan and Asia in general, but maybe. I know that gambling outside of the U.S. is very much like
a big
a
thing.
very big thing.
Yeah.
Like in America, we kind of keep it strictly to casinos, which is the least that we could give the
That's
Native
kind of blowing the
Americans.
fuck up now, though, with sports.
Yeah, sports betting and
Yeah,
gambling,
sports
which I
betting is
love, by the
becoming
way.
huge.
I mean, how good is it when you bet on a game and the team you bet on wins?
Don't know. I haven't tried it. I'm afraid I like it too much.
I mean, it is really fun. I'm not gonna play it because I don't want to get copyright stricken because
True.
that could happen. I just thought about that, but no, go. I'll show it to you after this.
Watch that little jingle in Korean.
It's fucking terrifying. No, I do love sports betting and sports gambling. Like
That's what
apart from fantasy draft.
I was gonna say that's what I'm telling
Like
you.
fantasy draft is fun, but then
Yeah.
when you just like put $20 on a game and you don't give a fuck about the game, I mean, it's satisfying.
Yeah.
The year that the Cavs lost to, I think it was Golden State. Well, there was like 4 finals that they played or something like that. A coworker of mine at the time was from Ohio, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you think your fucking Cavs are gonna win or something?" Just talking shit. And he's like, "Put money on it." So I'm like, "Okay." And I don't know. I mean,
You
I
struck a nerve.
yeah, and I don't really watch basketball or anything, but I put $20 in the game, and Golden State ended up winning. And I just remember, dude, I didn't give a fuck about who won. I didn't even care if I lost. But if I
Just have
win,
those bragging rights on it.
yeah, I'm like, if I lose, I don't really care. But if I win, it just felt.
Rub some dirt
I
in
didn't even
his
care
face.
about the money, to be honest. I just wanted to beat him in the sport of gambling. It was fantastic. I cannot recommend sports gambling enough. Go buy yourself some fantasy coins on a FIFA.
Go buy some Dogecoin and gamble with that.
Yeah, and go buy Cardano because it's actually at $225 now. So
That's right.
I
I
could-
own some, so I kind of need you to pump that shit.
yeah, can you guys please? How much do you own?
Not enough.
I put some money in it a while ago, and I'm just looking at it go down every day. I'm like, no,
I
I did the dumbest thing. I bought it when it was at $3.
oh no I bought it pretty cheap.
$3 I'm like, this is gonna blow up.
I bought shit pretty cheap like a few years ago, and then I didn't log into it for like I would say 8 months, and then
Yeah.
everything was gone. So that's why I don't do crypto no more.
Oh, fuck cryptocurrency. You notice what? Fuck also Facebook. Recently, Frances Haugen has come out as a whistleblower. So I believe it was on. We are recording on Thursday, October 7th. So on Monday, which was October 2nd, I believe. No, that'd be October. I don't know, some fucking.
Monday, math.
Yeah.
Public school educated.
Yeah, come
Your
on, guys.
expectations are too high.
Come on. I fucking went to tech school. You think I'm gonna know this shit? So she came out as a whistleblower. The entire servers went down. And we found out from Frances Haugen that she no longer wanted to work there because Facebook was engaging in essentially hateful speech. Now, she has previously worked for Pinterest. She actually got recruited by Facebook, and she no longer wanted to sit with her arms crossed as she saw some of the work that was being done. So, Juan, before we dive into some of the facts about it all, I'd like to get your opinion on the whole debate. Do you think that Facebook really provided hate speech? Or do you think, I guess for
Facebook itself didn't provide any particular
I guess
memes or
made it
anything.
easy.
Yes, they no doubt have had their algorithm set up in a way that it promotes the pushing of hateful rhetoric because it has usually the most engagement, likes, and comments, therefore bringing them more advertisers' eyes and therefore money, which is what the allegation that this particular whistleblower is saying, that Facebook itself wouldn't put the safety of, let's be honest, the globe at this point, because it's not even just the United States. They essentially control large swaths of the social media ecosystem. For the majority of the globe, it's not just Facebook, as we all learned during the shutdown this week with social media, how it all just went down. So Facebook is a monopoly. They own a lot, like all of these institutions that went down. It was not just Facebook. It was Facebook, WhatsApp, which is the most used social media outside of the United States and Canada.
It's essentially all they use outside of America for public messaging.
Exactly.
So they bought WhatsApp a couple of years ago, and that is what people outside of the country were using because it allows people to connect messaging via Wi-Fi and internet.
Yep.
So you don't necessarily need, in America, I mean,
and you can make phone calls on it.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
100%.
Video calls.
Yeah, in America we have like unlimited data. Pretty much every plan has unlimited data.
Yeah, most people do, yeah.
However, outside of the country, that's of course more difficult for numerous reasons. Expense has probably the number one thing to do with it. But yeah, I mean, the WhatsApp and the big social media that they actually own as well is Instagram.
Exactly. I missed that one. Don't they own Snapchat as well?
They tried to buy Snapchat. Snapchat were like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, they didn't succeed in that one.
No, Snapchat just denied their request to buy. Snapchat is barely used anymore. But besides the point. Yeah. So the whole thing went down on Monday. She was actually anonymous for a couple days and then just came out. I think it was in the last 2 days. So this is Thursday. So I think on Wednesday and Tuesday she actually came out and actually was in court hearing and spoke about why she came out and why she no longer wanted to sit willingly as she saw some of this stuff happen. So
I believe she's also the source to the Facebook files that the Washington Post released a week or so ago, exposing how Facebook has their own internal studies, and they have discovered that Instagram in particular is extremely detrimental to the mental health of young women all over the country. And this is their own files that she released to the Washington Post.
Well, it's pretty, I think it's pretty obvious the more time you spend on Instagram, the more you realize like all of this is fake and probably not good for the brain. Because and I'm guilty of it as well, the more likes that someone gets, it's when they're doing something cool. Or like initially the early days of Instagram were just upload anything you were doing that day. Because it was almost like a photo or like a snapshot of that day. But then things like Snapchat and stories came out, so people started just uploading their daily activity to that. And now people really get into the mind of like a social media influencer through Instagram. Like, hey, look at me, I'm doing this cool shit, I'm wearing these cool things, like this photo. So you can, I mean, everything is there for depression and anxiety and like, oh, look at all these people that are succeeding, I'm not. Like, I'm just a fucking loser in my room. When in reality, we're all losers in our room. We're just uploading the one picture that we took
We're
that
just
year.
uploading the highlights, not the lowlights.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about your life in the course of like 6 months or even 3 months, I mean, everyone does cool shit every now and then. And if you don't, I mean, you do. Everyone does cool shit every now and then. Like, even for the high schoolers or anything, it's, you know, the fact that they went to like a homecoming game or to a dance or any of that. I mean, that's what people would quote unquote find excusable for an upload.
Yeah.
But
and it's not just the FOMO, you know, like the fear of missing out of like having fun with your friends. With the young women, it was displaying how it pushed all these body issues and depression and anxiety and suicide rates into higher than it needed to be amongst this particular demographic, you know, the younger women who used Instagram.
Because they'll go on there and they'll see these like fitness models with like ridiculous genetically gifted bodies, and they'll be like, oh, I don't look like that.
Or they've had work done.
Oh, they had work done.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I don't look like that. I'm never going to be able to look like that.
And then those fitness models will push like random supplements that are totally unregulated.
I drink green tea and it helps me achieve my butt. It's like, yeah, I don't think it does. I really don't think it does. I think those elastic bands you're working out with really aren't doing the trick. So it really does promote a highly depressive feeling towards the youth specifically. And I mean, it doesn't take long for you to go on there. And you saw who uses Instagram the most for the people that overreacted the most. Yeah. Like, there was a ton of people like on Twitter saying, what the fuck is happening with Instagram? And every now and then you get to see when they roll out an update, there's a glitch, it's not necessarily working. You get to see people fucking lose their minds because of one thing that they use that makes them feel that instant gratification of scrolling and seeing things you like.
That dopamine hit that we like.
Right, exactly. The big thing that I did want to actually mention and get your opinion on is during the election, and I think everybody was aware of this if you were on social media, and I'm referring to the 2020 election for all of you listening in 2032, they were actually having a button to prevent the spread of lies. So there were certain posts that if they got marked enough, it would be like, please, like, this could be misled, or they would be completely just taken off the site. So during the 2020 election, that was in place. But as soon as the election ended, those features were turned off. And some of the people from that truth, I guess you can call it, truth department.
Yeah, I was reading there was like a civics guardian sort of council that they hired from like political experts, political science professors, you know, ethics professionals and legal counsel, and they hired all these sort of people into essentially being like their version of an ethics department where they could kind of see like, what should we flag, what should we not, like, what should we let skirt through the filters, what should we not, essentially.
Yeah, so it is interesting to know that they did immediately after the election. They're like, all right, like, it was as bad as it got. Let's just move these people elsewhere, and they essentially got rid of the whole department. Yeah, which is bizarre to me because I think that proved, and especially, I mean, we saw the storming of the Capitol, how quickly that these people can meet up on Facebook and all rally behind a certain opinion and go, and they
it's almost like a wildfire, man, like a viral wildfire, you know, like
Yeah,
like a thought wildfire.
And Facebook was the main platform that these people were using that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can use any example, but Facebook is the number one platform for these kind of meetups and for this many people to get outraged. And the big thing in 2018 is when they actually had the change in the algorithm so that it was more engagement focused. So that meant that they were trying to focus more on engagement, which meant they were trying to get more advertisers. And the thing that gets the most engagement, and you and I can probably agree on this, everybody can agree on this, is always going to be something that
makes you mad.
You don't is controversial.
Comment on the puppies and rainbows post, like talking about how beautiful and pretty and how good it makes you feel.
Exactly. So, I mean, as much as I love puppy videos and as much as they turn me on, the thing that I really engage with is always going to be a post about something
that ticks you off.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw the funniest thing also, like when the vaccine was first being rolled out, there was these like
that was ticking you off like a mother.
There was these meme kings. Well, yeah, the vaccination stuff was pissing me off because I am super pro-vax, and whichever vax you don't want to take, I'll put it in my ass as well. So I could honestly care less. There was people posting memes saying the vacations should be mandatory and enforced upon at your workplace. But because it said the word vacation, everyone immediately thought they were saying vaccine. And so all the comments on, and I saw probably like 30 different people posted saying vacation should be enforced, your work should make these mandatory, blah, blah, blah. Comments saying, you don't know what the fucking side effects are of the vaccine, and my fucking brother doesn't have COVID, and he fucking survived, and he's fine, and he has breathing problems, but he's completely made it. It's like, bro, a really simple fucking joke should have just been like, that's funny.
Went right over their head.
Yeah, just like, if you fucking, it's an infringement of our rights.
Dude, those are people that are like already living at like a 7, you know, like, just waiting for anything that'll push them to a 10.
And that's the problem. Like, Facebook makes these people so angry all the time. Like, my poor mother with her, very short education was sharing. She's, by the way, my mother is very Catholic and right wing and closed minded. And no, she was sharing things that were like Catholic focused, and it would be these priests saying like, there was one video she shared that I called my sister who was at home. I'm like, go to her fucking phone and delete this from her profile. It was this Catholic priest saying like, I got on the plane and they made me wear a mask, and so from here on out, I'm only gonna drive to my venues. It's like, dude, how about you settle out and in fact just wear the fucking mask. All right? Just shut the fuck up and wear the mask. Pastor David. If God wanted me to wear a mask, I would have been born with one. Yes, I'm sure how that works. And if God wanted you to molest little kids, he would have fucking made you born with one as well as a Siamese kid. So go suck a dick, Father David. So yeah,
shout out Father David.
Shout out Father David, and shout out Frances Haugen for willingly coming out. And the big thing she stated was one of the main reasons she came out as the whistleblower was because she could no longer sit through and watch this happen, because the next person, if she had just left and kept her mouth quiet, the next person would have sat through this and it could have gotten worse, and the next person would have sat through that and it would have gotten worse. So yeah,
I did see something interesting. I want to get your thoughts on it as a part of her testimony, and something that I had heard as an allegation made towards Facebook in the past was you're familiar with the movie Hotel Rwanda, correct?
Yeah, and Arsenal, who we talk about later, are actually sponsored by the country of Rwanda.
Okay. Well, in the movie, and famously, like, is noted throughout historians, Rwanda had a lot of hate radio that was extremely prominent and popular in their country and culture. Essentially, like, Alex Jones, Rush Limbaugh's to the extreme.
You mean God gives to the earth?
That's right. God's gift to Texas. Alex Jones.
Please continue.
Essentially, Frances Haugen and the whistleblower, and people in the past have made the allegation that Facebook made it easy in the country of Myanmar to spread genocide amongst the Muslim minorities, the Rohingya, which essentially caused like a whole migratory crisis in the country.
Yeah.
And that Facebook was the main mode that they were literally spreading all these memes, spreading misinformation, calling them who knows what, right? I can't even tell you what. But that was the main mode of operation, and that Facebook turned it off way too late into all the killings into many killings that happened.
And I mean, this is affecting, regardless of your political views, this is affecting the left and the right. Like, both sides are using this feature to get their side of the story riled up.
Yeah.
Like, like I said, whatever your political opinion is, the thing that I don't like that Facebook and most of these platforms are doing is they're deplatforming people. And I think that if they would just get this algorithm in place, I don't think that would be more of an issue.
The deplatforming thing?
Yeah. I'm interested to get your opinion on this, but if they were just to get their algorithm in terms of engagement and not spreading hate speech, I think anybody,
maybe.
I think anybody could have, because people would just like unfollow, or it's like, hey, clearly this person is spreading misinformation, and we're gonna take their post down. So people would realize, like, oh,
but isn't that the deplatforming that you're talking about?
But taking the post down as opposed to just completely eliminating people from the profile, because what people would want is like a following and an engagement. So let's say Bro Taste This, this podcast, like let's say we make a Facebook and we just start saying like white wine gives you superpowers.
That's right. Makes your dick bigger.
And by the way, it does.
It does.
And Facebook would be like, okay, they're spreading lies, we're going to delete that post. And then we're like, oh, fuck, we don't get any engagement because every time we talk about white wine making your dick bigger, it gets deleted. We'll have to start spreading other lies. Mm-hmm. So I think would they just get, and it's definitely difficult because you have billions of people probably on Facebook at this point.
Yeah. I don't know that deplatforming is my issue with Facebook, just because
it's not my issue. It's just something that I think if this would to get fixed, then I think it would definitely help the situation.
Yeah, I was just saying because of like that particular like example with like the Rohingya stuff, like what other tactic do you think Facebook could take to help eliminate things like that, but deplatforming, like it's almost like a necessary like tool that they need. But what I was going to say though was this whole week though, in my opinion, has justified all of the things and comments that Elizabeth Warren has been talking about like the last 4 years about how we should break up Facebook and Amazon. Because I mean, just look at how inconvenient for the whole globe, not just the United States, their outage was. It was like we specified earlier, it cost who knows how many companies how many dollars. It made it so the students couldn't get their homework in plenty of places.
I mean, Facebook is that's a crazy thing when something is this big. For as much bad as it does, it actually does have a lot of good things that it offers. You know, like we have a group chat through Facebook Messenger's platform. We will use Facebook as a platform to get our podcast out there. And it is kind of crazy to think about how, this is a fucking massive thing that if used properly, it can be fantastic. But, I completely agree with what, I'm sorry, what was her name?
Elizabeth Warren.
Like, something like this just has to get monitored. But it's like such a big thing that it's so difficult. Like, this is the first time that we've ever dealt with internet in our lifetime. We saw the internet go from it's one computer in one classroom to it's in everybody's hand. So I think we're getting to the point where we're going to have to start cutting back on what certain things can do.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
If you have to use Facebook as a scapegoat, I think you're going to have to.
Yeah.
I don't think we can avoid that at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just too big.
I don't mean about like avoiding Facebook. I just mean like the push for people to push the American regulatory body, and it's almost like a global necessity that we have to like take upon ourselves, because the rest of the globe has zero say in what Facebook says or does. Well, we actually have a little bit of a say because we can push
We should
like the
definitely
current
regulate
American
it.
regulators and political body into regulating them somewhat. And specifically, what Elizabeth Warren was saying is that we should break them the fuck up. Snap or like Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook should be different entities that are like accountable to different people, bodies. They're their own running institutions, versus, you know, Facebook has a bad PR week because a leaker comes out and
Yeah.
they're gonna take down all 3 apps.
Yeah, no, I think it should definitely be something that we regulate, and I think almost categorize some of these social media apps, like Facebook having a bad PR week. People use WhatsApp, like we said, in other countries for messaging. So what
Yeah,
if
almost primarily a messenger?
So what if somebody is, you know, a 14-year-old is trying to get picked up by her mom from school?
That probably definitely happened. That situation.
And you know, she's scared, she's afraid, and so she can't because what, Facebook. So I think, yeah, we'd probably break these things up, and even if they're still owned by Facebook, at least categorize these things and be like, all right, messaging apps are going to work like this, like we're going to regulate them so that they're not allowed to be fucking like 14-year-old kids aren't allowed to be contacted by, you know, 18-year-old kid, like men.
Yeah, wow. Holy
Little
shit.
things like that.
Yeah,
Just
that's a small little thing that you just totally came up with.
regulate them to their category. So regulate messaging apps, regulate photo specific apps like Snapchat, like Instagram, and then regulate some of the big ones that are like Facebook and whatever else is out there, like Reddit and what else, because Reddit technically is a social media platform. And so yeah, I think 100% regulate these, and even if they're owned by the same entity, then have their different categories.
I think I have a good little segue into our next topic as well.
Please go ahead.
Have you, since we're talking about Facebook, big tech, all of these monopolistic business institutions, have you heard about how Facebook and Amazon are building company towns?
Yes. I drive to Kenosha every day, and there is a giant, I mean, and it's a small for what Amazon can provide, and it is massive. A warehouse of Amazon that you can see. I mean, it's fucking giant.
Damn. Yeah, I was just keeping up with how apparently Jeff Bezos is pushing politicians in local towns where he has warehouses and to essentially build towns the way that he wants to. He's sponsoring essentially the equivalent of an Amazon ROTC program so that people from low-income communities have a career track into like the Amazon warehouse, I guess, career ladder. But
so you're just breeding these kids to then come work for you, because
exactly,
you'll just hire anybody.
Yeah, like the Amazon spokesperson when talking about this was talking about, yeah, we don't want these people to leave the town. We want them to stay and work for us.
We don't want
30,
people to
40
follow
years.
their dreams or go try to achieve what
Exactly.
they've always wanted to. We want them to be groomed at an early age that they will get paid minimum wage for the rest of their lives, and all they have to do is scan boxes, and if they don't, then the alarm's
Break
going to
their
go
backs,
off.
pee in
Yeah,
bottles.
exactly. That is fucking absurd. But no, please continue.
No, but yeah, it was just incredible. Like, obviously, the ROTC program is already like borderline unethical, to be honest. Like, you're kind of like pushing something that really you should be an adult to like take much more seriously and be able to sign up for such a serious endeavor like that. And, you know, they reach 15, 16, 14-year-olds. And now we have like the dystopian nightmare that is like the Amazon version of that, where they arrive to certain high schools where they've built these huge warehouses, and they can essentially bully the local mayor and economy into being like, you have to put this like program in your high school, or else we won't pay you this or that.
Yeah, actually, in Wisconsin, a Chinese company, Foxconn, was actually gonna start. They're currently in construction at the moment, but they were actually gonna come in and start creating jobs, quote unquote, for the local government. And they went to my tech school that I graduated from, and they were telling like kids like, you guys should come apply, and we'll give you jobs in like manager positions, because even with like a 2-year associate's degree and like engineering, they would be able to come in and like work some of the software. It's like, dude, that again, like we're talking about unethical. Like you're going to people who are desperate because they want to get a job and just offering them bare minimum. Like, yeah, they're gonna say yes.
Yeah.
Like, what is their other option? Like, if you're telling them like, oh, from the high school, you can start telling them like, oh, you don't have to try because we'll hire you regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean this, like what you're saying with the Foxconn deal, our state and the Republican Scott Walker administration gave them so many tax breaks that somebody did the math and it came out to like millions of dollars per single job.
Yeah.
That our state was paying, or like essentially gifting them in tax breaks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just when you hear about companies like that, it's just so disheartening, just learning that these companies and institutions are essentially sucking off, like they're like corporate welfare queens,
Yeah, but doing it on a level where they can profit from
on a
all
macro level, on a like much more costly to society level. Like how much are the Amazon trucks costing local roads all over the country that they're totally not paying for?
Foxconn is building like a 6-lane highway. And the first 2 lanes are like exclusively their vehicles.
Jesus. They get their own private lane.
Yeah, like it's fucking absurd that they're able to even get away with this. Like this is something that they proposed and is currently being worked on. So in the next 10, 15 years, we're going to see how all of that came to be. When they came in and offered, they made a bid to the Wisconsin government, and they said like, no, we're going to offer millions of jobs and benefits to your state. That never fucking came to be, and that's not gonna come to be, because why would a giant tech company provide any resources to you?
Yeah, they literally held a global competition amongst small cities and towns to see, hey, who's willing to give me the best tax breaks and deals all over the globe. Like,
why the fuck would they want to provide you anything?
Yeah, they have options. They don't need to fucking. Yeah, that's why like things happened the way they did. Like because of essentially that we were trying to court them into coming and building shit in Wisconsin.
And we're like, yeah, come through.
Yeah.
Our government, our fucking entire profit of the state is entirely reliant on dairy, which guess what? Everybody's lactose intolerant. So how about we
don't focus our whole economy on cows?
No, just cows. And Chick-fil-A is popping off more and more, so we're not even eating them anymore. So it's like, all right, really proved us wrong on that one. Should we talk about the Pandora Papers? Should we talk about that next week and go into the
main topic? Should talk about that next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week. Let's give our final thoughts on the wine. Juan, do you want to tell me which of the two you enjoyed more, the Three Wise Men or the Snake and Herring wine? He's enjoying the last sip of.
I found myself finishing the Snake and Herring one first, just because I love Sauv. I love.
Do
that.
You?
Yeah, I love that like citrus peel taste. That just I love sour and acid.
Yeah.
And
you also love taking acid.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's correct. So I love Sauv Blanc. That and this particular one is delicious. It's very pear forward. It's got a little ginger thing going on. I don't know. I think it's very delicious.
That Sauv Blanc is fantastic. for its price point, I think it's a little. I think it might be a little more expensive than I enjoy
Yeah.
for something of that quality, but I do really like it. I do really like the Snake and Herring. I actually enjoyed the Pinot Grigio more.
You did.
I
right?
I
could
really
tell.
enjoyed the Three Wise Men Pinot Grigio. I'll probably have another half glass of that as we talk about the main topic.
What color do you think this is, by the way?
I would almost. It's like light pink.
No, stop. Really?
Am I drunk? Might be the wine glass had some lipstick on it. No, it's like a very. It's not
It's
purely
pale yellow,
light.
like-
Yeah, pale yellow. It's got a little bit of a
It's very translucent. You can see right
light
through it.
gold. Yeah, it's very translucent. When you throw it in your wine glass, it almost looks like it's like soapy.
Yeah.
Like if you throw it in your wine glass, it almost looks like it's a little thick. But when
It's
you
so
taste
easy
it,
to drink.
it's so light.
Yeah, it's so easy to drink.
What I like about wine is you can just drink so much of it. And I could drink 4 bottles of the Three Wise Men. All in all, I really enjoyed the Three Wise Men. The Snake and Herring.
Three wise guys.
Three Wise
For our
Guys.
listeners who may look for this
Three
bottle of wine.
wise guys sitting in a room. It's Luis and Juan, and we're missing Georgia. What?
Miss you, Jamie.
We miss you, Jay. What occasion is it for? I would say this occasion is for when, you know what? Picture this. It's a hot summer day,
Yeah.
June 28th. You just had a long day outside. You took PTO because you wanted to work on your garden. You're like, damn, I've been killing it out here. You walk inside. The missus has a bottle ice cold of the Three Wise Men. She goes, honey, I prepared you the
Wise guys.
three. She has the bottle of the Three Wise Guys, and I just cooked the duck breast that you've been putting off for the last few days. How hard does your dick get? Because I'm thinking, dude, I am coming in 4 strokes on that one.
Am I drinking wine or Viagra?
Why not both? No, I really like the Three Wise Guys, and I really recommend it. So please support local community. We will be reaching out to them, and we'll probably edit out everything we just said.
Maybe we can get a sponsorship.
Yeah, the
They'll
Snake and
send us
Herring.
a box.
Dude, like, we will send you a box to never talk to us again. Now getting into today's main topic. Before we do that, do you have to take a pee break at all? All right, we're gonna take a short break. So the day that I asked you guys what you thought about the 2-year World Cup gap,
Yeah.
I was grasping for straws. Like I was like, I want to ask you guys' opinion on something, and then you're like, what? And then I just fucking.
He just threw whatever came up.
I was like, this will be interesting to talk about.
Oh man.
But speaking of sports, the main topic that we will be focusing on today is why we should support each other's team. Juan Legend is a big Chicago Bears fan, and I am a big Arsenal FC fan. Both different teams from different sports and leagues entirely.
Countries even.
Country, yeah, correct. So I have no affiliation to most football teams apart from the Green Bay Packers because I was born in Wisconsin. Do you have any affiliation to any soccer team?
Soccer team? No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so. No.
So we both don't give a fuck about the other sport.
That's probably yeah.
So-
Totally fair.
You are going to go first. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bears, and then I'm going to talk to you about Arsenal. So let's start with the history of the Chicago Bears.
Okay. Well, the Chicago Bears are one of only 2 current charter NFL franchises currently in the league. So that means they were one of the original teams that was there when essentially football was invented and the league was like born and founded. They were there with I believe the Chicago Cardinals and the Decatur Staleys, which are now the Bears. So both of these teams were founded in Illinois, founded not too far away from us.
Yeah.
And yeah, those 2 teams were essentially the genesis of pro football. And the Bears happened to be one of those teams of only 2 of a league of 32. The rest of them came about at different points in time. And yeah, they just came about later after the development of the league. But let's move on a little bit. So they're one of the charter franchises, correct? They also happen to have either the most or second most Hall of Fame players in the whole league. So they have a long tradition of having like tough, bad motherfuckers.
Are they also the only team that has done a Super Bowl shuffle?
I believe so. Yeah.
Do I have that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did the fridge play for the Bears?
Yeah. The fridge did play for the Bears.
I one time I was serving at a restaurant, and this old man who probably had dementia goes, "First to 10 and first to do it again, the Chicago Bears."
Yeah.
And I was like, "So
Good
how
for
do you want
you.
your eggs, sir?"
You want your eggs? Shut the fuck up and tell me how you want your eggs.
Oh, different. He goes, "First to 10 and first to do it again." Like, all right, man. All right, that's
Dude.
lovely. I'm just trying to do my job.
The Bears have this like fandom culture that has
Go
not
Bears.
evolved past the 85 Bears. They're so fucking stuck
Nor
in their
should
like,
it.
high school glory days that it's not even funny. But I'm not going to tell you that part because I'm not trying to, give you the cons right now.
Yeah, let's talk about.
Shut up about that right now.
All right, let's keep talking about the history and go into some of their trophies.
They have won one Super Bowl, not as many as you would want.
But Super Bowl have only been going on.
Yeah, they've been going on 50 some years now, 40 in the 40s or 50s. I know that. They haven't won as many as you would hope that a club as original and legendary as that is. But they've always been competitive. They've always been like on the cusp of being
something
competitive. They're usually not like a punching bag for the league. They're usually average to above average, but not even like being in like the elite contenders every year.
Okay.
But a lot of the times they'll break into that and they'll stay there for a few years. For example, let's go into some club legends. George S. Hallis happens to be.
You want to know an interesting fact that you might enjoy?
What?
So the company that I work for, we actually helped. We did the HVAC for Hallis Hall, which is the new training facility for the Chicago Bears.
That's their training facility where they practice. They do everything, training camp now.
So we got to see an insight of, number one, how it was being designed, and number two, how it was going to work.
Yeah.
And when they first...
Apparently it's pretty high tech.
It is fucking insane. And I probably fucked up a lot of things on that project. We won't get into that. But it was really cool to be a part of and to actually see like, oh, they just renovated their entire... I mean... Dude, when I saw this thing, because we, for those who don't know, there's 3D software that you can actually build buildings from, and you can actually see plumbing, air, everything.
Yeah, you're drawing up the blueprints.
And you get to see these things in 3D, and you see how like what they were envisioning. You're like, Jesus Christ, like this is what they're training in.
Their vision was pretty expansive.
Yeah, and there's actually a video on the Chicago Bears YouTube channel, which I highly recommend watching, where you just see like when they first unveiled it, and all of us in the office were like high-fiving each other, even though we had the least to do with the design. We're like, yeah, we provide the air for this facility. It is really cool, and I did really enjoy that process.
And speaking of like facilities like that, did you by chance run into the piece of news that in the last week they put in a bid and some sort of commitment, as I understood, financial commitment, that they are buying the Arlington racetrack.
They are. I was about to ask that.
Yeah, to build essentially their own version of Jerry World, which is what Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, this essentially like diva owner, who, although give him credit for this, he supposedly built his own state-of-the-art stadium with his own money, and he built a commercial hub for that stadium all around the stadium.
Kind of like what the Milwaukee Bucks did around the
Exactly,
Pfizer, like where they made everything like commercialized so that it
Restaurants,
not only brought
bars,
people,
hotels,
right?
They just outfitted the area with a shit ton of that, right?
So does that mean they are gonna move the stadium from Soldier Field to Arlington Heights?
As far as I understand, they're not moving the stadium itself. They're just building a whole new one out there, because this particular stadium is owned by the city of Chicago, and
because they hold soccer games there.
Yeah.
The Chicago Fire plays there at the moment, so I would assume that they would want their own stadium where they could make their own rules and make the most money.
Yeah, so that's something new, that's currently happening within the club. A lot of people are really excited because usually whenever you build a new stadium, you get like the shiniest toy of the lot, right? Like they're gonna build it the best they can so that it lasts
The longest.
a long time,
Yeah.
as state of the art as possible. So that's like a cool part of the modern today Bears that I would sell to a new fan, like
Hey, they're gonna
especially
build a
for
new
us
stadium.
living here in southeastern Wisconsin.
Yeah, Arlington Heights is only an hour and a half away from where we are.
Yeah.
We went to there
exactly
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we could quite literally take the train in Harvard
Yeah.
and end up there.
I
So,
mean, it's really easy to get to. Now, that would be really fucking
I
cool.
think that would be really fucking cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that.
Let's go into some.
Let's go into more club legends because
Yeah.
you had, I believe, the refrigerator play for the Bears. Is that true?
Yes, the refrigerator pairing. Okay, well, I don't. The guy is a legend because he was on the Super Bowl teams. He was never an elite player. He was like a very, very, very good player.
But he wasn't the best in his position.
Yeah, he was never like the best in his position, but he was always a very, very good player though. Like,
I love the nickname, the refrigerator.
yeah, he was given that nickname because he would be given the ball on offense once in a while, even though he was primarily a defensive player that played at defensive tackle at a position where you're supposed to be like 320, 330 pounds and just stop everybody who moves with the ball in front of you no matter what. You're not supposed to be very athletic and be able to move like in space very well. You're just supposed to be a strong, big motherfucker who's not going to let anybody go by you. And this dude was like athletic enough that they used him in a backfield where they had Walter Payton, like quite literally one of the most storied running backs and violent running backs in the history of the league. Yeah, he was on the 85 Bears, and even when he was on that team, they would still use a refrigerator pairing near the goal line and just give them the ball while they're at like the 2-yard line and be like, stop this 330-pound train if you can. And they usually did not. But let's go into some team legends that like are a little bit more current.
Yeah.
That I think you should totally check out.
You had a really good quarterback by the name of Jay Cutler.
I would never like add him to the team legends.
He was your quarterback for the last 6 years?
Before, yeah, I think he stopped in 2016, so like 4 years ago.
And he was very disliked.
5 years ago.
He was very disliked, I
Yes.
believe, by the entire NFL.
Yeah, he was very disliked. I was actually listening to a interview by Devin Hester, one of the team legends. I was going to tell you.
Yeah,
to
please
look up.
I want to talk about Jay Cutler a little bit more because,
but yeah,
infamously,
he was Devin Hester was one of his wide receivers, and Devin Hester is a super, extremely talented punt and kick returner. Are you familiar with what those are?
Yes.
Okay. Well, he's quite literally the best to ever do that position. He has the record for the most return touchdowns.
There's nothing
the
better than watching a punt return.
Yep. And
I think that's got to be one of the most difficult things to do in sport.
Exactly.
Because you see like a home run, you see like a penalty kick, even like, I don't know what's really, I'm trying to think of other really tough tasks to do in
Game-winning
sport.
basketball shot.
Yeah, but returning a punt
like 90 yards or 100 yards, 70 yards.
Crazy. You are
juking 11 people.
Because you have your guys who are like, we're going to protect this guy just to see as far as he gets. And then you have 11, 200 up to 300-pound men charging at you at full speed. And all you see
running like 20 miles per hour.
Is those goalposts on the other side of the field. And you just got to somehow break your way through. And I think we see that more in today's culture of football. But you see a lot of guys just doing like a safe return.
Yeah.
They'll just like wave them down. They're like, hey, I'm not even gonna charge at you.
Yeah.
So the fact that this guy's the best to ever do it.
Yeah, he's the best to ever play that role in that position. But he also played wide receiver as like his part-time role, right?
So this guy was a badass.
So he was a bad motherfucker. Yeah. He was Jay Cutler's #1 wide receiver for a few years, and he was giving an interview to Shannon Sharp. He has his own little YouTube channel where he does interviews with big-time players and former players, and he was talking about how, yeah, Jay Cutler's the worst leader I ever played with. And it just like made me think, God damn it. All these years I just thought this guy was like a quiet, aloof guy who would just sit on the sidelines and kind of keep to himself. But no, this guy apparently would not interact with his teammates. Like,
which is what you
dude, you're
definitely
the quarterback.
The quarterback, in fact, quarterback gets reference in other sports.
You're like the CEO of the team.
In soccer, there's now essentially a quarterback position that people say in midfield because they're like, this is essentially the quarterback of the team. Quarterback is the most, I don't care what anybody says, the most important position on the field at any given point.
A lot of people say it's the most important position in sports.
I would agree with that.
As far as like how much importance and team success falls on their shoulders versus other players.
I mean, look at fucking Tom Brady going to the Bucs and just saying like, yeah, I won a fucking championship on my own. And Gronk, who PT Gronk over here. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, CT Gronk. Yeah, no, and to hear that he's Jesus. Can you elaborate on that more? That he was just one of the worst leaders that he's ever played
Devin
with?
Hester, one of the wide receivers that played with Jay Cutler for many years, just mentioned that he was one of the worst team leaders that he ever played with, that he would interact with his teammates very little. But he went on to give him credit, almost making it worse, because like you think, oh, well, you could have been amazing. But he was like, yeah, he was one of the most athletic, most accurate, like strong-arm quarterbacks I ever played with. But he was such a bad leader and so selfish and always was just hanging out by himself, never wanting to talk to anybody.
Sometimes I think, we've talked about this outside of the podcast, a player who is that good and then does these fucked up things, like in this case for Jay Cutler, is just not be a good leader. Sometimes I wonder if that's why they were as good as they were.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like the fact that he was reserved and the fact that he
was so selfish may have been why he was as skilled as he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because not every, I mean, we talked about Gronk before, outside of the podcast, and mentioned how he doesn't watch tape. He openly said he doesn't watch tape. And you think, oh, well, if you watch tape, then he'd be better. It's like, I don't know if that's the case.
Maybe he would overthink things.
Exactly.
Let's. I wanted to touch on a few more club legends.
Please, yes.
Really only
Please, yeah.
One. So obviously Devin Hester, the greatest return man of all time.
Yeah.
I would tell you to watch a few legends, but they're not so recent. But I'm just gonna throw them out there.
Okay, start naming.
Either A, they have amazing names, which the Bears have some of the best names in football. You're gonna hear this in a little bit. Or two, they are literally some of the best to ever play their position, which is running back. The Bears historically have always held like amazing running backs where they're super tough. They're just always breaking tackles, and which is super fun to watch as a football fan.
Yeah.
It's like the ball given to some guy in the backfield, oh, he breaks a tackle in the backfield, suddenly breaks it off for like 20-some yards. That is super exciting.
It is very satisfying.
Yeah, it's very satisfying. So let's give you some names. Gale Sayers as one of these historic, amazing running backs. Walter Payton. These are all like people whose highlight clips you could look up and you just be sitting there like having your adrenaline pumping, like, yeah, hit that guy. But yeah, these two guys are amazing. Some players and head coaches and legends that also were with the team were Dick Butkus, historically amazing middle linebacker. He used to play middle linebacker in an era where they would run it like 30, 40 times a game. And he would just...
They didn't believe in throwing at the time.
No, he would just smack people every play. I mean, a name like Dick Buttkiss.
You kind of have to be a badass.
You have to. And then I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Kicking and Screaming with Will Ferrell.
I have.
Then you might recognize this name, Mike Ditka.
Sort of.
The head coach that was helping Will Ferrell coach.
Okay.
That was him. Mike Ditka coached the '85 Bears, and so he used to play tight end for the Bears. He was a great player, amazing player. He would catch balls and run people over, right? And that was his role. But he also coached those '85 Bears, and although he was never a tactician, he was never known as that kind of coach.
Yeah.
He was just known as that like
motivational
meatball,
guy.
rah like asshole that just pushed the right buttons one year, I guess, and lucked himself
sometimes.
into that Super Bowl shuffle championship team. But yeah, I would say
okay, what are some of your earliest or your first memories of the Bears?
First memories of the Bears. 2006 Super Bowl, when they first started becoming relevant and they started showing up in my universe, because I was a young kid who had never grown up around football.
Yeah.
My parents didn't watch football. I don't know what football is. I would like go to school and people would be talking about, oh, like, did you guys see the Bears this week? Did they have like this player or that player, and he like scored a touchdown or that? So I would like look up some of these people, and that season in particular, I just happened to fall upon like the season where they were gonna make it to the Super Bowl, and where their defense was scoring like 7 to 10 points or 14 points a game almost.
Jeez.
Yeah. They had a lot of really talented defenders that year, where they were incredible at taking the ball away and returning it for points. But yeah, that would be the earliest one of my memories, I would say. And I would definitely say that the main reason why I'm a Chicago Bear fan is because I was born in Chicago. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that, I'm not gonna sugarcoat that.
So is that why you support them?
Yeah. I was born in Chicago, so I follow Chicago sports as a youngin'.
Yeah.
And kind of once you make your sports decision, you
ride or die by it.
Yeah, you ride or die. You're stubborn about it. Like, yeah, but it's just my luck that I happen to like be stubborn with a team that has this perpetually successful rival, which is the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers
They always smack the Bears around.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Who, because we did mention some of your team legends, who is your favorite team legend? Is it the wide receiver that you were talking about?
Devin Hester.
Like, if you had to pick one of the bunch, you're like,
If I had to pick one, although right now he's not playing as well as he used to, they, on their current team, they have this safety called Eddie Jackson, who played for Alabama. And he came into the league as a 4th round pick, so like expectations weren't that high for him.
yeah.
And he just came in and I believe scored 6 return touchdowns in 2 years as a safety. Where
Jeez.
he would intercept the ball or pick up a fumble.
Yeah.
And the dude was like, even though he theoretically didn't test that fast on like a 40-yard dash, whenever he picked up the ball, man, nobody could fucking touch this guy. So he would just make these incredible plays where returning 70 yards as a defender and after intercepting the ball and
Just
many
take
times
off.
scoring. Yeah.
That's awesome.
He would score like a bad motherfucker. But
So is he your favorite player now? Or who would you say your favorite player in this current team is?
my favorite player on the current team, and only because I believe he is going to be, only because of his potential and his like current value to the team, it has to be Justin Fields. Like,
Is that the new quarterback?
it is the new quarterback. Yeah, like we're recording this 1 week after he started his second start. During his first start, he got sacked 9 times.
Was that the historically bad game?
That was that historically bad, like the second worst game in the last 100 years of NFL offensive football. It is almost impressively bad.
Like, did they go out there and try to fucking play like shit?
Exactly. They got less or a little bit over 1 yard per play. It was ridiculously bad. So they let him go at it again in the second game, and the dude balls out. He gets, I believe, 13 or 14 pass attempts, completes 11, but the 11 is not a lot. That's a small number of pass attempts.
Yeah.
But he completed that for 200 and something yards, meaning an average of like 19 yards per
So he was throwing bombs out there.
He was throwing bombs. Like, all of the statistic websites, NFL football statistic websites, were talking about how this dude was the best deep ball thrower since 2006. So
Jeez.
even past the Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
Like, in his essentially first game as a rookie, he was doing that.
That's really impressive.
So I believe, like, right now, that guy is or should drive Chicago Bears into the 21st century because they have not had a good passing quarterback.
So he should
for many
make them
years.
good again.
He should keep them pretty fucking relevant.
Or at least
and he
build the team around him
Yes.
specifically.
Yes, he's
And his good attributes. So if he's good at throwing long, get guys who can fucking
Exactly.
run. Don't get
And-
good running backs, get good wide receivers.
exactly. And the guy has 4.4 speed. I don't know if you're familiar with
No.
how fast
that
a
like a
40-yard
video game
dash
stat?
is. He runs essentially as fast as like a very, very fast wide receiver as a quarterback.
Is Justin Fields a white guy?
No, I think he's mixed.
Oh,
Yeah.
so he runs as fast as a gentleman who runs fast is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what that means.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess my last question for the Bears is, can they turn it around? And I guess what would you fix of this current setup to make them Super Bowl champions in the next 2 to 3 years?
Oh, fire the head coach. No doubt. This head coach that they have is like totally lucked himself into a job. He was the offensive coordinator. You know who Patrick Mahomes is, right?
I do know who Patrick Mahomes
He was
is.
the offensive coordinator for Patrick Mahomes his rookie year.
Yeah.
So he quite literally played 1 year one game because Patrick Mahomes famously sat his whole rookie season.
Patrick Mahomes is also, I think, one of the best quarterbacks
Yep.
in the NFL.
He's literally already getting talked about as like one of the best of all time after 2 or 3 seasons because he's so like
He is
athletic
so
and
ungodly good.
yeah, he's so good. He will move backwards 20 steps, throw it with not looking, and still make it.
Yeah,
Like,
Patrick, so he's the
he's a
best
video
quarterback.
game in real
Yeah,
life.
he is fucking ridiculous.
so this guy was on that team, and he was famously given credit as the guy who came up with the plan. We should sit Patrick Mahomes for a year, let him absorb our plays, our strategies, our tactics, and have him come at full strength second year. And that is the credit that the current head coach of the Bears was given, Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
After 3 years with the Bears, he did great his first year. He actually won Coach of the Year his first year.
What?
Yeah. Dude, I'm not gonna go into it. But the media has like had a weird crush on him when he first started, and it just like created this legend.
Is it because Patrick Mahomes turned out to be so good?
I think
and they
so.
were giving him
It
credit.
has to be like the magic. They just like rubbed off the magic of Pat on him. So,
This happens a lot in soccer, and we'll talk about it when we talk about Arsenal.
Yeah.
A coach will be given credit when a young player becomes good, when in reality, it was a young player who
That was
had
his talent.
all the abilities of a
Yeah.
superstar anyway. So a coach will be given credit. It's like, oh, look how good, in this case, Patrick Mahomes like turned out to be. It's like, yeah, because he's a young player who is maturing and growing as a player in the game. The coach should be given very little to no fucking credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're telling me that when a player like Patrick Mahomes, who had all the abilities of a superstar, became a superstar, that's not surprising. But when he, like, let's say in this case, he would turn somebody like Justin Fields into a superstar by playing him, that's impressive.
And especially if like a player is a bad player with a different coach and suddenly comes to this coach and
It's like,
he
dude, this
takes
player
leaps
looks
forward.
fucking looks
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Well, with this particular coach, everybody in the NFL media sees this, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he coached the Chiefs and Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes for the 1 year where they made it to the playoffs, and then the next year he was the Patrick Mahomes mentor, the quarterback guru, the offensive genius.
When in reality, all he did was sit him for a year.
All these buzzwords and like terms were applied to him, and then he gets hired by the Bears. He has a great first year, right?
Yeah.
Where he's carried by this incredible defensive coach and this incredible defense where they were doing what I was telling you with Eddie Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
They had this incredible defense where they were essentially scoring like 7 points a game again.
Yeah.
And so the offense doesn't have to do as much heavy lifting as like offenses and other teams that don't have such amazing defenses. And thus the guy won like head coach of the year, even though his offense was only like average-ish.
Yeah.
And it went from like being average-ish, so like the 20th ranked offense, the 18th ranked offense, to being like the 27th, the 30th, the next 2 years.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Darn, man.
Because the guy got figured out super fast. After 1 year, all his strategies and tactics got figured out. And he would not adjust. He would like not adjust his tactics.
We are good.
Yeah, he was like, we just need better execution from our current players, this or that. And he was always trying to fit.
So he was throwing out some white lies out there.
Exactly. He was always trying to make his players fit into a scheme that they obviously were not naturals in.
Yeah.
His team is built more to run the ball and to be successful doing that.
Yeah.
While he wishes he could have a team that could run the ball 10, 12 times, which is not a lot, and pass it like 20, 30 times.
Yeah.
Like he wishes he had that team, right? But like that's just not who he has. That is not the players that he has, and he never
adapted,
and he's never been not stubborn enough to adapt, except for last week, when he gave up play calling to his offensive coordinator, because he's a head coach. He gets to decide who calls the plays. I can call them myself because I'm the offensive guru, offensive genius, quarterback developer, whisperer.
Or I can just give the responsibility to the offensive.
Exactly. Or I can give the responsibility to someone who has done this for a longer period of time than I have.
Yeah.
And
did it work out?
Yes. They went from having, like I said, that historically
terrible
second worst in 100 years offensive game of all time to 200 yards running, which is a shit ton. 100 yards is a lot. Yeah. They ran for 200 yards.
That is ridiculous.
And they passed for another 200. So they had 400 yards of offense, which is a shit ton.
Yeah. That's
1 week later.
So your solution is fire this guy.
Fire this guy. Fire this guy yesterday. This guy's terrible.
All right, I think I'm on board. I think I like the Chicago Bears. I think I'll start supporting them and start wearing the merch and the Bears.
I was gonna say we have some of the coolest, although cringiest, like fandom culture, like all that the Bears, all that shit.
It is pretty cringy.
It's cringy.
I love it though. I love it. All right, let's going to Arsenal Football Club. Do you know anything about Arsenal Football Club?
They're the Gunners.
They are the Gunners, and we're gonna talk about the Gunners today.
In England, the Premier League?
Do. They play in London. I'm actually gonna double check some facts.
I know a lot of Euro teams have like political roots and affiliations. Are the Arsenal team anything like that, or no?
Not necessarily.
No. Okay.
No. This team is just okay. So they are from London. They are from North London specifically. They actually moved, so they became a North London team. Famously, they are the only team from the Premier League to never get relegated, including the previous years. In England, sorry, I had a burp there. In England and in most soccer leagues in Europe, there's a promotion and relegation system. So unlike in American sports, when a team does badly, they will actually drop down a division, and the teams from that division will actually get promoted. So this was done very, very early on to like, hey, the best compete with the best, the worst go down. They have to earn their keep. Arsenal have never been relegated. and they are one of the most successful teams, not only in England but in the world. So they started as early as 18. 86, I believe.
Dang.
Yeah, they're a long running football team. Football meaning soccer. So they have won 13 league titles, and also they're the only team in English history to win a title going completely undefeated. No
How
other
many games is that?
that at that time it was 38. So you
Dang,
played
holy
every
shit.
team home and away.
That's
20.
a lot.
I think it was like something like 12 draws, and the rest were all wins. So think about 38 games and you didn't lose a single one. People were praising the Patriots the year they almost won the unbeaten Super Bowl, and that was 11 games.
Yeah.
So not only were they
16.
16.
Yeah.
So not only were they playing home and away in England, but then they were also playing in European competition against other teams. They had multiple trophies. So on top of all that, they were balancing. They were also playing in the Premier League, and like I said, won completely unbeaten. And the Premier League itself from England actually awarded them a Golden Premier League trophy, which is something they've only done that year and they've only done since. They have 14 FA Cups, which is in soccer, there is a league and then there is a cup. So unlike in NFL where there is just a Super Bowl, they compete for multiple things at once. So the Cups is knockout battle. So it's kind of like the playoffs, the way that they do for most American sports. And then the league, which is just point based. So they have 14 of those, 16 community shields, which means that the winner of the Premier League actually play the winner or the runner up to the FA Cup. And they have 16 of those. So that means every time they had won the Premier League or the FA Cup, they had then won the community shield. So that's some of their history and some of their trophies. We'll go into some of their club legends, which include historically great players. Players like Thierry Henry, which was famously robbed for Player of the Year in 2003. He had 22 goals and 21 assists in one season.
Dang.
That is a goal and an assist every other game.
Yeah.
Every game, essentially.
Yeah, essentially.
Think about that. 21 assists as a forward. So Thierry Henry wasn't just a player in the league at the time. He was the best player in the world. He won the Euros with France. He won the World Cup with France. He was the best in the world. So Arsenal had the best player in the world at that time, which in soccer is a big fucking deal. People know now today the likes of Ronaldo, Neymar, Messi. That was Henry in the early 2000s. The Premier League started in the late 90s, and so that's what it is now. So they kind of did a rebranding similar to what the Super Bowl did before that. And so I'm mostly going to focus on the Premier League era.
Yeah.
They also had awesome defenders like I wish I could remember his name. What's his name? This is embarrassing. We'll go to Dennis Bergkamp while I kind of Google the name. Dennis Bergkamp was, if you look at any highlight tape, Dennis Bergkamp is by far the most impressive. He's doing tricks with the ball that are unbelievable, like Houdini type shit.
He was a defender.
No, Dennis Bergkamp is a striker. We'll talk about him. I'm trying to think about this guy's fucking name. Why can't I remember? Not Alan Smith. Fuck Alan Smith. We'll cut this out. Anyway, Dennis Bergkamp was the most technically gifted player I think I've ever seen with the ball. Like, people think about Neymar, Ronaldinho, and these guys now.
Yeah.
If you watch it, like if I just send you a Dennis Bergkamp highlight tape, the thing that you're talking about, this guy with the punt return, this dude was like sending the ball one way and going the other and getting the ball to come to him and just like impressive shit to do with the ball. It's unbelievable.
I don't mean to interrupt, but
I want you to interrupt.
Since you're talking about like phenomenally gifted players like that, have you had a chance to watch Lamar Jackson?
No.
Do you know who that is?
Yes.
I cannot tell you enough to just Google a highlight reel for that guy.
Of Lamar Jackson.
This guy is such a special talent, dude. Like, similar to the way you're describing this guy,
Yeah.
but almost on an opposite end of the spectrum. This guy is so athletic, so instinctual.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Like, he's a quarterback that runs like a kick returner. He can juke 11 people at once, but while also throwing a 60-yard bomb over your head and hitting his wide receiver for it. He just plays like one of the most exciting brands of football in like the current NFL. And honestly,
So he's just a walking highlight reel.
Exactly. He is such a walking highlight reel. But like the cool thing is the NFL is heading in his direction. Like, he is so successful that he is basically like pushing offensive NFL football
Yeah.
to like push away the Tom Brady's and Drew Brees of football. And their newer teams are not looking for Tom Brady anymore. They are looking for a quarterback who can run and throw because they're more cost effective. You don't have to have an amazing supporting cast around them because they can
You'd have
create
a badass motherfucker
opportunity
just
for
grab the ball and
themselves a
take
little
with it.
bit. Yeah.
No, I'll definitely look him up. Going back to some of the club legends, Tony Adams was a center back. So a center back in soccer is essentially a safety back in football. So they're a defender. They're the last line of defense between the attacker and the goal. And to this day, Tony Adams was an Englishman. He is regarded as one of the most hard fucking hitting center backs to ever play in England. And he was a captain. Like, what you want a captain to be. Not like we talked about earlier, like Jay Cutler. But
The opposite of Jacob.
yeah, like he was yelling. Like, there's videos of him that I love watching of him yelling at his teammates, like, die and live by the badge.
Yeah.
Like, everything mattered when it came to winning.
A real hard-nosed, lunch pail kind of guy, you know?
A real gym rat, hard worker kind of guy. They've also had players. I'm talking about globally respected players like Patrick Vieira, who was another French guy who, to this day, in his position of center mid, will refer to him as the mold, like the Patrick Vieira mold. Like, he was one of the first players in midfield. They would kind of break it up for like 2 or 3 midfielders. One guy defends, one guy attacks, one guy does a little bit of both. Patrick Vieira was one of the first ones that could do everything.
Yeah.
Like, truly defend, attack, just hard hitting, just a bad motherfucker.
So with all these team legends, what would you say is like the characteristics of the team and like some through lines, like in similar playing styles that maybe they've carried out from the beginning to the end?
Soccer is a very cohesive sport in the terms of it's constantly ongoing. So when it comes to playing style, that is the number one importance. Like, in football, it's a very stop, go, which I'm not discrediting. It's still a very fun sport to watch and support. In soccer, you just need a little bit more tactics involved constantly, because the game is constantly going.
Dude, I feel like it's kind of the opposite though, because like football is borderline chess with humans.
Yes, you're making plays, but it's still like a stop and go. Stop, like, you know what I mean?
But like that gives you more time for those tactics, you know, like each 5-10 seconds you have to come up with a new strategy.
Right, you're
for
making
how you're
moves
going to attack
on
this defense.
Right, you're making moves on the spot. Like,
Yeah.
all right, I see what their offenses might do. I'm kind of predicting it, so I'm going to do this with my defense,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Because like for football, you can have hundreds of plays on offense.
Yeah.
And like for defense, you can have, I don't know, like a dozen different playing styles that one
Right.
team might employ on defense.
Right.
So,
And,
like-
I understand that, but what I'm trying to get to it is, in soccer, your identity, like, the coach needs to stick with an identity or even like a tactic for the game, and that is it for the game. And they'll maybe switch it halfway through or realize, like, this isn't working, we need it, but that's it. Like,
Okay.
so
So you almost need a little like familiarity with the system you're working with.
right. So the thing that always gets the most praise is when a team plays really attacking football, and attacking football in terms of like soccer. like when a team does really intricate passing and holds the ball, like that's always praised really highly. And Arsenal have been dominantly throughout their successful years of the early 2000s and the early 2010s, especially under the coach Arsene Wenger, who held everything together. He was one of the longest serving coaches in English history. And he was praised for the way that he would like set his teams up, which was like always attacking minded.
Yeah.
Like
Offensive minded.
never sit back and counter the team or anything. Like it was always like, no, we're going to set up, we're going to hold the ball, like one touch passing, which means when the ball came to you, you immediately hit it back to your teammate. So you didn't get the ball, control it and go. And so some of the plays that you've like are some of the most beautiful that you'll ever see. It's really like, it's almost like a video game where these players are like intricately moving like around each other.
Fluid and
where you're just like, God, like, and you know, I'll maybe show you later, but it's just really, really impressive. Going into some of my first memories of Arsenal was in 2010, and I would even go like 8 or 9, was when I was really like getting into soccer, not just from playing, but actually like observing it. And up until then, I would only ever watch like national.
Yeah, like the national American,
very casual
Mexican
shit.
Team or something.
Yeah, and also some of the like Mexican league soccer. So it's like, oh, you know, this kind of whatever. And then my cousin presented me his iPod, and he's like, dude, check this out. And he was showing me players from Europe, and I was like, what the fuck? What are they doing?
What are they doing?
It just blew my mind. And
They can score from that far? That's allowed?
score from that far, pass from that far. It blew my mind. And so I would start watching the English Premier League. And at the time, I really didn't have a team that I supported, but Arsenal I really enjoyed because, number one, they had a Mexican at their team at the time.
They have a really sexy uniform and logo.
They have a beautiful uniform, which I have 3 in the closet behind you. Actually, you see that white jersey that kind of sticks out with the Puma logo?
Yeah.
So that was their jersey from a couple years ago. They've always had, they're now memed as Drip FC because the only thing they're good at is making a cool uniform because they're now dog shit at soccer. So I supported them because they really, like I mentioned earlier, they were always known as this very progressive team that played youngsters. And the coach that they had for very, very many years always was forward thinking. So he was one of the first coaches.
Like a trendsetter.
100%. He was one of the first coaches who was like, "Hey, you guys shouldn't eat like shit every day." And this was like,
"Hey players, maybe we shouldn't eat so much
you guys
pizza and fries."
every day you come and you eat your fucking French fries. And so he was literally like historically one of the first coaches in soccer history in the early to mid 90s to be like, don't eat like dog shit. Like your health is important. And
have broccoli once in a while.
Yeah. Eat a salad for fuck's sake. And he was also very early to start promoting young players into big teams.
Okay.
So like Thierry Henry, who I mentioned, who is Arsenal's most important player of all time. In fact, one of England's most important player of all time, even though he was French because he came to England. One of France's most important player of all time. He brought him when he was like 19 or 21 and had him playing big games, which, I mean, in America, that age range is when a player's still in college. So you would never see a player that young starting in like a basketball game or a football game. But now it's a lot more common with the likes of like Kylian Mbappe and Erling Braut Haaland actually being that young and succeeding in soccer. Arsene Wenger is a person to thank because he was like, fuck it. If they're good enough, they're good enough.
Yeah. Like they're killing them in practice. Well, when they're killing them.
Exactly. My favorite player now who's currently playing at the team is probably
it's a hard pick, right?
That's a hard pick, yeah.
Maybe name 2.
I'll name 2. I really like Martin Odegaard, who recently was bought from Real Madrid.
What would you say is his play style?
His play style is like the playmaker.
Okay.
But just works really hard off the ball, runs a lot. But the things that this guy can do with the ball is fucking crazy.
Finisher?
No, not really. More of a playmaker. More of like these intricate passing. And can put the ball over the top.
Like point guard.
Essentially. He's essentially the point guard / quarterback of the game.
Okay.
But then Arsenal also famously have such an incredibly talented academy. So they'll just bring in players who are like ready-made superstars over the last couple of years, who are like 19, and they're like, oh, this guy came from like the youth setup.
Yeah.
So they've been with the team for like 8-9 years, which is crazy to think. And they're now playing, which is just
Holy
free
shit.
money. I
8,
mean, think
9
about,
years and you're already like, or you're only 18.
think about
19.
like if the Bears had like a youth team, and this
They've
guy,
been playing since they were 11.
they've been playing together since they were like 11, and each year they kept getting better and better. And now you see them starting, and you're like, this is a guy from Chicago who grew up in Chicago, who stayed in Chicago, who played with
That
other
is super cool about soccer.
played with other kids from Chicago, and now all these Chicago kids are playing for the Chicago Bears week in, week out.
That is pretty fucking cool about soccer, to be honest.
Yeah, there is currently 2 players in the main team that are starting in the starting 11, Emil Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka. And you could even say like Ainsley Maitland-Niles to an extent, but these 2 guys specifically have been playing together since they were like 10, and now they're playing together in the biggest
Dang.
games ever. And they're from London, and they played in the academy. You're just like, dude, these guys are like live and die by the Arsenal
They
badge.
probably trained to grow together.
They for sure have had a threesome together. And do you have any questions? You know, I don't.
No, I mean, honestly, my original and like most curious question was about like what their team identity was as far as compared to other teams. But
Yeah.
as you were saying, I think they sound
They're
like
very progressive.
innovators, like trendsetters,
Yeah.
like people who develop new tactics and strategies.
Yeah.
So I mean, that sounds pretty fucking cool to me.
Yeah, no, it sounds cool until the last couple of years where they've unfortunately kind of stemmed away from that era. Really quickly, I do want to mention Arsenal have one of the worst fan bases of the entire world.
Why?
Because they are so highly supported, and because they are so progressive, because they have this awesome uniform, this beautiful stadium, which is the Emirates in London. They attract a lot of fans. And Arsenal fans started the social media fan craze, which is Arsenal Fan TV. So if you don't know about this as an outsider, I'm going to send you some videos later. But if you're at home,
Is it like some hooligan shit? Or what
it
are you
is
talking about?
no, it is much worse. So Arsenal Fan TV was one of the first, as the name says, Arsenal Fan TV. It was one of the first YouTube channels, which was like this guy, Robbie is his name, would come outside the stadiums and interview people who were just at the game. Say, hey, what did you think of today's game? When you are taking people after a game at their immediate sentiment and feelings,
After they've lost and they're all down in their fields.
it started a very negative trend around supporting English teams. And so what would happen is these guys would be riled up and just cuss and be like, and now they have characters who now have their own podcast from Arsenal Fan TV. And so, yeah, that is the worst thing about being an Arsenal fan, is that you're grouped with all these other fucking idiots who have their own YouTube channels.
There's
And
like a whole like cottage economy to it. Like,
it is dog shit. It is absolute dog shit. So maybe that's why I wouldn't support. If I was a young fan today, I probably wouldn't support Arsenal the way I do now. But yeah, it's awful. Like, they generally have one of the worst. After every game, it's either we are winning the league this year or we are going to be one of the worst teams in history of the world. Like, it's either 100% in or 100% out. There is no in between.
dude, Chicago Bears run a lot like that too. But in the defense of the fan base, though, their coach is pretty shit. So, like, I feel like a lot of the reactions are a little bit justified.
Yeah.
But they do run very similar to how you're talking about. When they're feeling down, they're like, sell it all, trade everyone.
Trade everyone, start from that's
Start
how this
from
is.
zero.
That's how, dude. Arsenal are the worst team about that.
And then they win 2 games in a row. Super Bowl, here we come.
Like, it's almost
MVP,
like a right,
like, sign us up.
right. It's almost like a meme in
Yeah.
in the world when it comes to Arsenal fans, because it's that bad. It is that bad. Like, for example, when our best historic coach was at the team, there was like a slump period because This guy ran out of options. Like, he brought in players. He started from scratch. He had revamped the team probably 4 or 5 times now. And
Jesus
he was
Christ,
just
how long
out
has
of...
he been there?
He had been there for... He's not there anymore, but he had been there for over 20 years.
Okay.
So he has done everything.
Yeah.
Like, there were people contracting planes to fly over the stadium saying Wenger out. Like, that's how bad it got. Like, people actively booing their own players during a game, and it's only gotten worse since. So,
and this guy's gone though, right?
He left in 2016. They brought in this very good tactical Spanish coach who ended up not working out. He got fired. So they brought in this I wouldn't say club legend, but they brought in a recently good player who was Mikel Arteta, who played for Arsenal during those really good times. Not those really, really good times, but during those recent good times. Yeah. After he had retired as a player from Arsenal, he went to go train as an assistant coach from the current best coach in the world, who is Pep Guardiola. So you've heard of Pep Guardiola. Yeah. He had coached Bayern Munich. He had coached Barcelona. He is now coaching Manchester City. So when Pep Guardiola got to Manchester City, he had asked this player, Mikel Arteta, when you retire, can you be my assistant coach? Like, that's how high he was praised. Yeah. So he became an assistant coach. Arsenal fired this other Spanish coach and brought in Mikel Arteta and said,
Take over.
This guy, although I trust him somewhat, I don't trust him entirely.
Yeah.
Because some of the decisions he makes are so, like, left field on... He just can't commit to a decision.
Yeah.
So there's a player we have now called Granit Xhaka. This guy is good, but not great. But the thing that he does always that's infuriating is he'll get sent off. Like, he'll get red cards. He got the captain armband for a couple of games for like a season. There, he was going to be the captain of the team, and it was like, all right, like, he deserves it. He's a fighter. He fights. He's got the spirit. Like, he yells at his own players. Like, he's got that Tony Adams type of vibe, which I mentioned earlier. He was having a really bad game, like a really fucking bad game. So the coach does what any coach would do and just sub him off. He just substitute him off at home, and he's taking the armband off, and the stadium starts booing him because of how bad of a performance he had.
Yeah.
So he cups his ear to fucking like, oh, what are you guys saying about me? And then he starts yelling "fuck off" to the fans, and like throwing like a "fuck off" sign to the fans. Rips his jersey off, throws it on the ground, and then goes into the locker room. This guy is still playing with us. And if he's healthy, he will play. So you would think, like, after an incident like that,
he would get cut or something.
He would get cut. He would get sold. No. Arteta still plays him.
Is he, like...
He's not that good, by the way.
I was going to say, is he so good that they can't go without him?
No. They could definitely play somebody else.
So the guy has, like, a discipline. The coach has a accountability and discipline issues.
He definitely has accountability and discipline issues.
Tell me why the Chicago Bears have a beautiful parallel to this.
Which is why I think you and I will support each other's teams to a T. Because there's a lot. We were talking about they should fire the coach. I'm like, that's exactly what Arsenal should do. They should fire the coach yesterday.
So listen to this story. Last year, as in 2020, the Chicago Bears played the New Orleans Saints twice. Yeah. The New Orleans Saints have this cornerback or a defensive back, somebody who plays the wide receiver and the receivers and stops them from catching the balls, who famously is one of the best shit talkers in years to come out. And he's only been in the league 3 years now.
Yeah.
2 years last year. So the games they played, he had only been in 2 years.
Yeah.
His name is Chancellor Gardner Johnson or something like that. And he played against the Bears wide receivers. During the first game, one of the Bears wide receivers threw a punch at him and got ejected out of the game. Even though he had been warned that, like, just let anything this guy says go.
Yeah.
He's going to try to get under your skin. Yeah. Don't let it get to you. So they're like, nah. Like, this guy, the Bears player who punched him was a scrub, dude. He's, like, third on the depth chart. like a backup to the backup.
Yeah.
Like, he still did it, right? He had found his 1 or 2 plays of play.
Yeah.
And he was out there, and the dude was like, "I'm gonna fuck your mama." I don't know what the fuck he said, but he said something.
It was
that,
enough to get riled up.
It was enough to get him riled up. He did that. This was like week 3.
Yeah.
It's an 18, 17 week season. We're in the playoffs. The Bears meet the Saints in the playoffs.
Again.
And the Bears are telling their wide receiver room, yo,
Please do not listen to this guy.
Disciplined. Don't let this guy get under your skin. And they have 2 guys in the game that picked a fight with him.
So either the Bears wide receivers cannot take orders, or this Saints cornerback is just a really good shit talker.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the fans were calling on the Bears head coach, like, cut that guy. Like, he's a scrub anyways, and he's out there disrespecting you as a head coach.
100%.
Like, you're a third stringer. You have to follow every rule.
100%.
Like, never be late.
Yeah.
Like, you can't.
You want to be on this team. You earned your one.
Yeah, you can't afford to be that douchebag. You know. And here is this guy. 2 games in, he's done this. 1 in the regular season, 1 in the playoffs. He was still on the team next year.
Get his ass off the team.
He was still on the team next year.
Well,
so he had, like, the head coach for the Bears has that, like,
loyalty
to his players to a fault where he can't hold them accountable.
No, man. Arsenal had the same thing.
Yeah.
Last year against our rivals, our North London rivals, and our rivals in history, Tottenham.
Tottenham is your rivals?
Yeah.
Damn. I have to think about things now.
Oh, no. So Tottenham are our rivals, and what happened is our captain, after Granit Xhaka, that guy explained to you, said fuck off to the own fans, and put middle fingers up and took his jersey off. You should actually watch the clip. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
To watch an entire stadium boo one guy and he rips his jersey off.
Have you ever watched the Meta World Peace one where he fought with like half a basketball stadium?
No, but I don't.
He went into like row 12 and was throwing punches.
Good for Meta World Peace. Really keep to his name. But our captain after that we named, like, okay, this is gonna be our new captain, is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who
Aubameyang?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very, very good player.
Yeah.
On his day. He got named captain. However, this guy's the epitome of what Arsenal is today, which is all flash, all looks, no skill.
All flash, no sizzle.
Right. So he's, to be fair, he is a very good player. Arguably one of the best in the world on his day, which is saying something. I mean, he is fucking talented. He, however, has the problem of always caring about how he looks and how he dresses. And I mean, Arsenal get called Drip FC now because of like all you guys
players
have.
Like him.
Yeah, all you guys have is shiny players in a shiny stadium in a shiny uniform, but you guys are dog shit.
Y'all have that shit record.
Yeah, exactly. And he showed up late in his Lamborghini to the Tottenham game. Showed up late to the biggest game of the fucking season.
Year.
And he showed up late in his Lamborghini. So the coach did what anybody would do, which is not play him. And in the post-match interview, this was during COVID last year. You could hear him leaving the stadium early in the Lamborghini.
Oh, hell no.
Like, they're asking the coach, like, hey, so we understand you dropped Aubameyang. What was that all about? And he goes, it was just a discipline order. And you can hear him revving the engine because there's nobody in the stadium because it was during COVID. You can hear vroom, vroom.
Are you sure?
Juan had to take a very long pee, which I heard from the other room. Juan, how'd that pee feel?
It's all that Pinot Grigio and Sauv Blanc.
Yeah, we did have a lot of wine tonight.
Yellow coming in, yellow coming out.
So closing statement for Arsenal and the Bears. A lot of parallels between both teams. Both historically good teams. Both were there from the very beginning of the establishments. Both very mediocre in the last couple of years.
Both from large, extremely important cities in the countries where they're from.
Both arguably some of the worst fan bases in their league that they're in.
No doubt.
Arsenal, one of the worst fan bases in the world. I think you should support Arsenal because when you lose so much, it is that much sweeter when you win.
That sounds beautiful.
Closing statement for the Bears.
The Bears have this rich, incredible history of amazing players, semi-decent meathead-like head coaches
Semi-decent.
that have sometimes stumbled their way onto really amazing seasons and really fun wins.
Like it.
But as far as a closing statement for why you should follow the current day Bears, I would say the new Bears have a really incredible defense currently, where it's just creating opportunistic fun plays after opportunistic fun plays. And they have a 21st century quarterback who's, I don't want to say as athletic as a Lamar Jackson, but maybe he's like one or a notch and a half down from that, where he's hyper athletic. He's a 21st century quarterback, and he just looks like he's ready to bring the Bears into the 21st century. So I would say that would be the main selling point on
So I think we
why
both
I would start
have
watching them.
we both have similar aspects of, Arsenal with the young boys from the academy, and the Bears with Justin Fields is really young players who could probably make a really big dent in the league if they were to get a good coach behind them. So
Yeah.
let's hope for both of our sake.
Let's cross our fingers.
Let's cross our fingers. Closing segment is I'd be really interested in a food segment. So I think from here on out, starting this week, we will start a food of the week item that you can make from home that one of us actually makes on a regular basis. So one of my favorite breakfast items is to take a sweet potato, you peel it with a potato peeler.
Raw? Or
Raw.
Cooked?
Raw. You cut it into it's called a julienne cut, but you end up essentially cutting it like if you were cutting very thin French fries. You take a pan, put it on medium heat, throw a little bit of olive oil in there, and then you only really need about half the sweet potato. So throw in the sweet potato until it's like a nice cooked, like golden brown, almost looks burnt because it's sweet potato and olive oil.
Are you looking for a crispy surface?
You want that shit to be crispy.
Okay.
So in another pot, while you do this, you want to have water boiling, and you want to actually poach an egg. So the key to poaching an egg is adding a couple spoonfuls of white vinegar to the water before you boil it, and a couple of shakes of salt before you poach an egg. So I usually crack 2 eggs in there. So once the water is boiling, let the potatoes cool down, put them on a plate. It really only takes like a minute or 2 to poach an egg after the water is boiling. So poach the egg, drain the water, put the egg on top of the sweet potatoes. Then you take an avocado, cut that in half.
Damn, that also does sound pretty good.
Slice it diagonally twice so that you get those perfect avocado squares. Scoop that out with a tablespoon, put that on top. Then you just finish it off with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and some cinnamon actually. And you have a fantastic dish, which is composed of sweet potato, some poached eggs, avocado, and the cinnamon really adds a nice bitterness from the saltiness of the obviously salt, but like the sweet potatoes are so sweet. It's a fantastic breakfast dish that has a lot of carbs, not that much protein, but it's still very good, and some avocado in there.
And I mean, all the calories you're eating in that are pretty freaking clean.
Right, exactly. You're not eating a very heavy French toast dish in the morning. You're just eating some light carbs.
You're
in the
not
morning.
having 12 pancakes.
Which we've all done on occasion.
No judging,
Yeah.
But
So that is a dish that I make, and I really recommend. And so with that, Juan, any closing statements?
Get out there. If you have a pond around you and you see any goldfish, make sure you fish those the fuck out of there and throw them away when you're done.
Exactly. And for the sake of our teams, let's hope they fire our coaches and we start fresh. So
Fuck Matt Nagy. Hashtag fire Matt Nagy.
Hashtag fire Matt Nagy. Hashtag Arteta out.
Hashtag Arteta out.
Hashtag Arteta out. Hashtag I wasn't gonna say the last thing. I was gonna say something really horrible, and I'm glad I did it. With that being said, thank you all so much for listening, and have a great rest of your week.